Hey, what's up? JWhisp here, and welcome back to another Minecraft Snapshot video. I'm super excited because I haven't covered any of the Minecraft 1.18 snapshots, but here we are. Now, today is one of the smaller snapshots, however, there's still a lot of really interesting things for us to cover. So, the first change actually has to do with sprinting, and technically, sprinting is a bit faster. Let me explain. So, in previous Minecraft versions, if you were sprinting and had any sort of collision with a block, we get the familiar walking. Yeah, if you're sprinting and you make any collision with a block, it automatically turns your sprint into a walk. But with the latest update, they actually removed that. If you make a slight collision with a block, like I am right here, you can actually retain your sprint. Now, if you make a hard collision with a block, it does turn it into walking, but you can keep your sprint if you have a slight collision with a block. So that means if you accidentally rub up against a block while sprinting, it's not going to slow you down, and you can keep your sprint. Now, we have some copper blocks here, and I guess that takes us into our next change because there were some slight changes to ore distribution. Now, let's fly over to that big cave here. Now, ore distribution is pretty similar to where it was. Most of the changes take place with copper, and there's two big changes I really like. The first one is that copper can now spawn all the way up to Y level 95, which is really great. And the other thing is they actually increased the likelihood for copper to spawn, which means we're going to get even more copper. Now, copper is a great building block, and they've made a lot of quality of life improvements to copper ore. They've increased its spawn rate, and they also made it so you get multiple copper ores after mining it, and fortune does work on copper, so copper should be pretty easy to obtain now. The other ore change just has to do with lapis. Lapis ore previously would spawn in just one little chunk by itself, like one piece of lapis here, one piece of lapis over here, but now they spawn in normal blobs, just like with any other ore. Now, Minecraft 1.18 Caves and Cliffs is an absolutely amazing update, and obviously, we have some amazing changes like the huge mountains and the very deep and dark caves that go down super low. The only downside with that is with this increased world height, more blocks being loaded, more entities being loaded, all of that, there is a huge hit in performance. I remember the first few snapshots where they added mountains and caves, my FPS was absolutely tanked, and I have a pretty beefy PC. However, in the most recent snapshots, they made some improvements to performance, so it should help performance a bit. Now, I don't notice a huge increase in FPS, my game still feels a little bit choppy and a little bit less smooth to me, but I'm sure as they keep working on things in the future, it'll get a little bit better. I mean, look at this, there's just so much more going on in the average Minecraft world now. Things are gonna get a bit more crazy. But they actually did change one more thing that you can actually use to affect your performance. If we go into our video settings here, we now have a new thing under render distance, a new setting. We have simulation distance. So render distance, we all know and love, render distance affects how many chunks away blocks will spawn. So if your render distance is 2 chunks, 2 chunks away of blocks will spawn. If you turn it up all the way to 32 chunks away, blocks will spawn. I usually keep mine around 16, that's my average. But we have a new setting called simulation distance. And simulation distance is basically render distance, however, it doesn't apply to blocks, but it applies to entities. So dropped items, players, boats, mobs, everything like that is affected by simulation distance. So let's go over to this little sheep right here to show off how simulation distance works. So if I take some sheep spawn eggs and we spawn just a bunch of sheep and we go right over here, as you can see, look, the sheep are loaded in, they're still moving around. However, if we turn the simulation distance down, once we are exactly 2 chunks away from the sheep, let's keep going, look, about right here is where they just stop. The sheep are totally not moving because entities are not loaded in. But if I was to simply turn simulation distance up to say 6, suddenly the sheep start moving. So if you want to, you can actually turn your simulation distance down and it will give you a pretty large, pretty hefty FPS boost, which I think is definitely pretty cool. Now, I definitely wouldn't recommend having it at 2 chunks because, I'm literally right here and these sheep are barely moving. I'd probably keep it at least, around like 8 minimum. I feel like that's a pretty good point. But if you have a pretty crazy world, having the simulation distance, change can really help a lot. If you're someone that has a lot of farms or something like that, turning your simulation distance down, at least maybe while around your base, can definitely help increase your FPS. Now, for all my PC nerds out there is one more performance boost where they increased the number of background threads that will be able to be used while using Minecraft. However, this will only really affect high-end PCs. So if you have a pretty beefy PC, you'll actually see more of a performance boost. You know, I'm sure as future snapshots get released, they'll try to work more on performance boosts for all systems, but obviously that's going to take a little bit of time to work out. So for now, we're going to have to deal with a little bit of lag. But that's pretty much it for this snapshot. We still have no news about the Warden or things like that. We might not even get the Warden in this update, but who knows? Still a pretty interesting snapshot. If you want to check out this snapshot, like always, I will leave the link down below for you to check out the Minecraft update notes. Before I end today's video, I do want to briefly mention that I am going to start streaming on Twitch and uploading on my second channel again. I recently had a move. I moved across the country, and I'm focusing entirely on YouTube now, which means I'll be pumping out a lot more content. So if you want to see more content on my second channel, check that out in the description, or if you want to see some cool live streams, check out my Twitch. My second channel has a lot different type of content than my main channel. I do a lot of Minecraft butt challenges. Most recently I did Minecraft but pickaxes spawn structures, and it was absolutely crazy. So that'll be up in a couple days. But the thing about my big channel, my main channel here, is it's really hard for me to respond to a lot of you guys because I get hundreds, sometimes thousands of comments on a video. But that second channel is still relatively small, so I'm trying to reply to every single comment on my latest videos. So if you guys comment, if you have any questions or anything like that, comment on the newest videos and I should be able to answer them. But that's all for today's video. If you enjoyed, consider leaving a like, subscribing, all that good stuff. I'm super stoked for updates coming in the future because Minecraft 1.18 is going to be an amazing update. But my name is JWhisp, that's all for today's video, and I'll see you guys all in the next one.